Fine. We'll talk about it. Losing Robbie Ray for the rest of the season for the Seattle Mariners is heartbreaking. He is a big part of this rotation no matter what the YouTube comments say. And obviously, losing Robbie Ray and having to replace him with Chris Flexen just makes matters worse. Filling that spot in the rotation is going to be a big deal for the Seattle Mariners, and to see how they go about it. Do we stick with Flexen and Marco, or do we bring up one of the young guys, or do the Mariners make a trade? And another big spot of concern for the Seattle Mariners has been the designated hitter position. So starting pitching and a designated hitter. Does that sound like someone specific to you? Yes, we'll talk about the idea of trading for Shohei Ohtani to fill this role for the Mariners, only because you guys asked for it. Obviously, this is Shohei Ohtani's last year in an Angels uniform. I highly doubt he goes back to Los Angeles. I mean, he just basically said multiple times how much he wants to win and how he doesn't feel like the Angels give him the best chance to do that. In my opinion, there's no shot that he goes back to the Los Angeles Angels of Disneyland. Obviously, playing alongside a player like Mike Trout is enough to hopefully get people to stay there for the Angels, but with that being said, there's a good chance that Ohtani leaves in free agency, and for the Angels, that means they need to trade him at this year's deadline. There was all this talk about Artie Moreno selling the Los Angeles Angels, and unfortunately for all of baseball, he never did. With Moreno still at the helm, the Angels are doomed for the rest of eternity. So Shohei Ohtani is someone that they would probably want to trade at the deadline to maybe, possibly, get some prospects back. Do you trade the biggest generational talent in 100 years at the trade deadline this year? It's a very tough situation for the Los Angeles Angels, and one that we've never really seen before. A player this good, of this caliber, we have not seen this in so long. The closest was the Juan Soto trade last year. And obviously the Mariners have been interested in Shohei Ohtani for a very long time, and at this point everybody in baseball is going to be interested in Shohei Ohtani. And at the trade deadline, does it make sense for the Seattle Mariners to trade for Shohei Ohtani? In my opinion, no, but let's talk about it anyway. So let's just play under the assumption that the Angels are going to trade Shohei Ohtani, one of the best players in Major League Baseball history, at this year's trade deadline. What would you be acquiring when getting Shohei Ohtani? Well, first, let's look at Ohtani at the plate. So far through 2023, Shohei Ohtani is hitting 261, 330, 489 with a 124 OPS plus. He has 6 home runs, 16 RBI, and 3 stolen bags. He struck out 25 times and walked 10. Of course, this is just in 24 games, but it's pretty clear that Shohei Ohtani is one of the best bats in the game after he hit 34 home runs last year and 46 in 2021. He was worth a 157 OPS plus in 21 and a 143 in 22, making an all-star appearance both of those years. Now we have to talk about Shohei Ohtani on the mound. Let's start with 2021 this time, where he had a 3.18 ERA in 130 innings pitched. He gave up 15 home runs, 44 walks, but 156 Ks. He had a 141 ERA plus. In 2022, Shohei Ohtani had a 2.33 ERA in 28 starts, 166 innings pitched, where he struck out 219 batters with an ERA plus of 174. And that brings us to 2023. Shohei has a .64 ERA. This is, of course, before the Oakland start. It might go up a little bit with the Oakland start. A .64 ERA, 5 games started with 28 innings pitched. He's given up only 8 hits, given up 2 runs. He's walked 15 to 38 strikeouts, good for a 2.53 strikeout to walk ratio, which is honestly pretty bad. But his ERA plus is at 711. Yeah, 711. Like the store. And that's what you're getting out of Shohei Ohtani, someone who is more than likely going to be in the conversation for AL MVP again this year. Shohei Ohtani is one of the best players in baseball history. There's no two ways around that. He is turning 29 on July 5th this year. So it's interesting to think about how much time Shohei has at competing at this level. Is there a point down the line where Shohei Ohtani has to pick either pitching or hitting? It's very, very possible, although if anyone can do it for a long period of time, I think it's got to be Shohei Ohtani. Just for fun, let's talk about what the Seattle Mariners would have to give up for half a season of Shohei Ohtani. First on the list is Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller is going in this deal if you're trading for Shohei Ohtani, and I think you also have to give up Emerson Hancock as well, or Brian Wu, pick one. You have to give up at least 2 of your top starting pitchers, because throughout their history, the Angels starting pitching has just been bad. The Angels are terrible at developing starting pitching. They need to find ways to get better pitchers. Trading 2 of your best pitchers for Shohei Ohtani is just the start of what it would take to get him. Let's just say for fun that you're giving up Miller and Hancock. That is number 2 and number 4 on your top prospect list. I think then you need to either give up Felnin Celestin or Cole Young. One of these 2 possibly generational shortstops needs to go in that deal, in my opinion. For the sake of simplicity, let's just say it is Cole Young. So basically you're giving up your 2, 3, 4 prospects in your organization. And then in my opinion, you got to give up at least one more player. I guess just for fun, let's throw in Gabby Gonzalez as an outfielder for them. Down at A-ball, I mean, it's really tough to say who they would want in this situation. I think you need to give up 4 of the top 10 prospects in your organization just to even have the Angels listen on what you're looking for. If I'm being honest with you, I guarantee that if the Mariners were trying to get Shohei Ohtani, the Angels would probably want George Kirby or Logan Gilbert. Obviously, the Mariners would not be doing that because that would kind of defeat the purpose of getting Shohei Ohtani in the first place. But with that being said, I guarantee that's what they would ask for. And if neither of them, they're probably asking for Jared Kelenic instead. Maybe we can throw in like a Taylor Trammell or a Cade Marlowe in that spot to kind of sweeten the pot for them a little bit. Maybe Cade Marlowe in place of Gabby Gonzalez. So you'd be looking at Emerson Hancock, Cole Young, Bryce Miller, and Cade Marlowe just as a starter to get Shohei Ohtani from the Angels, because they're going to sell so freaking high on him that it's not even going to be close to doable for the Mariners. Obviously, penciling in Shohei Ohtani in your rotation every 5th day, as well as having him in the middle of your lineup every single day, is a huge boost to the Mariners and probably makes them somewhere in the neighborhood of World Series favorites. I'm being honest, they'd probably be up there. But that doesn't guarantee that Shohei Ohtani is going to sign an extension with you or re-sign with you this coming offseason. And if you're the Mariners, it's just not worth it, in my opinion, to trade away the farm for 2 months of Shohei Ohtani and then to have him go elsewhere. If you're trading for Shohei Ohtani, you have to know for a fact that he is signing with you before you make that trade. The risk of losing Shohei Ohtani in this deal is just way too much, in my opinion. You cannot possibly risk giving up 4 prospects and then not sign Shohei Ohtani this offseason. And that means you're going to be committing probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years to Shohei Ohtani at $50 million a year. You're going to be handicapping yourself for the rest of the freaking decade. If I was the Mariners in this situation, I would wait. I would wait until this offseason, and if they go sign Shohei Ohtani, more power to him, man. But I think trading for Shohei Ohtani at this year's trade deadline would be one of the biggest mistakes the Mariners could make if they weren't positive that they could re-sign him in free agency. Losing that many prospects out of your farm system that could be big contributors as the years go on, it's just not there for me. Listen, you guys asked for it in the comments. I gave you my honest opinion on the matter. Like it or not, that's how I feel about the Mariners trading for Shohei Ohtani this year at the trade deadline. We've talked a little bit more about some players that could fill this DH role for the Mariners in this video on the screen now. I want you guys to check that one out. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.